Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you to the 3rd and 4th Ward Youth Summer Camp and Employment Town Hall. Thank you for joining us this evening. Um, I want to first thank my colleague, Alderman King, for pulling this awesome town hall together. Thank you so much, Alderman King, and to all of our panelists here with us this evening. You know, youth are a really important part of our community. And I can remember as a little girl looking forward to summer with eager anticipation because, I knew it would give me an opportunity to find some summer employment, just be engaged in my community and put a little change and money in my pocket so that I could help my family. And so this time of year is very important for our youth. And in the middle of a pandemic, we can't change our course. We have to stand on our square and continue to do the things that are going to empower our young people and our children. So that's why this town hall is so very important. We hope that you will click like and share and send this on so that other people can get some information about summer camp and employment opportunities. So with that, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Alderman Sophia King of the 4th Ward.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Thank you always for your partnership. I always tell everybody we are partners in crime, but I would have no other person than to partner with on these type of endeavors. So thank you for your partnership. As you said, summer is upon us. There's a lot going on in the world, in the country, and in our city. But we've got to find ways to engage our youth, as we know they are our future. They have showed us, over the last couple of weeks that we will be in good hands. But we definitely need to find ways to put money in their pockets to keep them engaged. And so we've got a great group of people and organizations here today who can do just that. So I will introduce everybody, and then we will start off with our first organization. So give me a moment just to let everybody know who we have with us today, what organizations, and then they will go into detail about the offers that they have for the summer. So we have Bright Star Community Outreach, better known as VSCO, and the Greater Bronzeville Action Network, GBNN. Ms. Vivian Harper will represent them. She's the Director of Community Strategy and Development. We also have My Shy, My Future, with remarks from our own Deputy Mayor, Ms. Sybil Madison. Welcome. We also have After School Matters, with remarks by Ms. Nubia Henderson. She's the program specialist. We also have Chicago Park District, our Chicago Park District, with remarks by Art Richardson, who is the Central Regional Director. And then we have Centers for New Horizon, with remarks by Kiana Chappell. She's the Director of Family and Adult Services. And then we have One Summer Chicago, with remarks by Angela Rudolph, who is the Deputy Commissioner for Youth Services at the Department of Family and Support Services. So without further ado, we will start off with Bright Star Community Outreach and the Greater Bronzeville Action Network with Ms. Vivian Harper, again, the Director of Community Strategy and Development. Ms. Harper.
Thank you, Alderman King. I'm Vivian Harper. I'm with Bright Star Community Outreach. And BSCO is known for being a convener of several different work groups and different networks and different partnerships. And one of the collaborations that we lead is known as the Greater Bronzeville Neighborhood Network. And we refer to that typically as GBNN. GBNN is a collaboration of convening agency partners, different community institutions, local businesses, and we all work together for a common goal. That common goal is to help 5,000 Greater Bronzeville residents between the ages of 16 and 55 we help them to find jobs that lead to household sustainability. So through our collaboration, we do a lot of work. Sometimes it's through direct service, many times it's through indirect service, but we provide job readiness training, we conduct different hiring fairs, and we share job opportunities as soon as they become available, either through our network or through our website. It's gbnnchicago.com. To date, we have helped 2,771 individuals in Bronzeville gain full-time permanent employment. So tonight we'll have a couple members, I think it's one or two of our collaborators. They'll be sharing information about youth opportunities that are available right now. Lastly, what I wanted to share is that we're updating the GBNN website. So we'll be having opportunities and information as it relates to workforce development and any updates for new jobs. So if someone's interested in being a part of the network and wants to do workforce development, work together and collaborate, I'll make sure that my contact information is available by the end of the town hall on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harper.
And Alderman
Yes.
King, hold just a moment. We're trying to get the Facebook Live, so just pause just a moment.
Okay. Pausing for technical. Cool. So I know a number of parents are anxious to make sure that their youth are engaged this summer. I also know a number of parents are paying mad respect to teachers as they've had to assume some of those roles. So I know they're anxious to get their young folks engaged. So Chairman Dow, we've got a number of opportunities from what, age 16 to what?
From age 16 to 24, Alderman King.
Yeah, from 16 to 24. So if your neighbors aren't tuned in, if your girlfriend is, not tuned in, they're going to be talking about a number of opportunities that are still available this summer, either through programming or work opportunities. So let them know as we try and go live on Facebook.
We have one question here. What if your child is 15? Well, we have services available for between 14, did we say 14 to 24?
I believe so.
So I jump in right quick. This is Angela Rudolph at DFSS. One Summer Chicago goes as young as 14. And I can talk a little bit more about that later on.
Thank you, Ms. Rudolph. We appreciate that. Prentice,
All right, we're back.
We're good. All right. We're ready to go. And we have next the Deputy Mayor for Education and Human Services, Ms. Sybil Madison. She's got a lot on her plate. But tonight she's here to talk about My Chi, My Future. So Ms. Madison.
Hi, thank you, Alderman King, and thank you, Alderman Dow, for inviting me to join everybody tonight. My Chi, My Future is the mayor's first citywide youth initiative, and it's really lodged in the belief that all young people, regardless of where they live in the city, and should have the opportunity to connect to rich, robust, out-of-school experiences that help them explore their interests, develop their talents, and really build the peer and adult networks needed to really build their own path into the future. And we know that the city has an abundance of resources for young people to connect to, and there should be no reason why there's a young person who isn't connected to meaningful experiences outside of school, particularly during the summer. We've developed a vision in collaboration with hundreds of organizations across the city. And when we developed that vision, of course, we were in a different time and space. It was pre-COVID, or like we say, in normal times. And really, we were focused on making sure that every young person this summer had a meaningful plan for engagement. We know that those plans have shifted a little bit because our ability to actually be in person with young people looks very different now and is limited. But the city is really committed to making sure that number one, we keep young people's health and as a priority, and make sure that they are healthy and safe, and make sure that the staff who work with young people are healthy and safe, but also make sure that we stay committed to offering as many opportunities for engagement and employment as we possibly can. And you will hear from folks from the Park District and from DFSS about how they're trying to do that. So My Shy, My Future is intended to be a one-stop shop for the opportunities that are out there for young people. The website is MyShy, that's MYCHI, myfuture.org. And our intent is to have all city-funded programs and opportunities that are available to young people on that site, searchable. As well as right now, we have a number of virtual and online experiences that young people might want to connect to. We have live streamed offerings that are being provided by our partners, including the Park District, as well as others like After School Matters, which is also on this panel, Free Spirit Media, Social Works, etc. So we wanted to create a virtual or online space that young people can connect to, even while they cannot connect to in-person programs, and make sure that we have things like live stream events and as well as virtual experiences and online activities that they can connect to that align with their interests. I won't say much more about some of the things that the city is offering, because we have representatives on this panel to talk about that. But I will say that remain committed to making sure that young people are able to connect to these experiences. We know that the experiences that young people have outside of school really do support their development, open up new opportunities for them and new ways to think about what they can do and be in the world. And we're really focused on making sure that our young people, whether they're in Bronzeville, Roseland, et cetera, have access to these opportunities. So that's our focus, and I'm excited to hear about all the other opportunities being offered, and also just want to extend a hand to those in Bronzeville to partner. We've had some conversations and look forward to working even more closely together to make sure that we are supporting the work that's being done in the community to connect young people to what's being offered, not only in Bronzeville, but across the city.
Cool. Well, thank you, Deputy Mayor Sybil Madison. Thank you so much. And everybody will stay on to answer questions, and you guys can ask questions in the chat, which we will have people stay on in case there's specific questions. But next we have a Miss Nubia Henderson from After School Matters. She is the program specialist at After School Matters. Miss Henderson.
Thank you. My daughter let me know that I was muted. Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to give a brief introduction of After School Matters. We have a lot of different city partners represented here, and so I just wanted to offer a little bit of clarity that After School Matters is one of the larger partners of One Summer Chicago. And so with the application process is really important, because people have kind of asked questions already. We have two different application portals. So if you apply to One Summer Chicago, it doesn't necessarily transfer to After School Matters. And if you submit an application for After School Matters, it doesn't necessarily transfer over to One Summer Chicago, but we are considered a resource in terms of opportunities for teens. And with that said, to piggyback off of things that were already shared in terms of this being a different time for us as service providers, I wanted to share the mission that we came up with for summer. and that is re-envisioning traditional expanded learning to provide safe, equitable, and innovative virtual programs that build bridges across the city, increasing the impact and accessibility of youth programs for all Chicago teens. So with that being said, all the programs that we are offering this summer are going to be virtual programs. And we are going to offer virtual programs and take a little bit of the knowledge that we experience from e-learning and switch it up. So some of the programs are going to be asynchronous, meaning that they're not going to be online. The teens are going to be able to do independent activities. And some of it is going to be synchronous, where they're going to be working with their peers and their instructors online. And the way that looks is that the synchronous learning model is going to be 3 to 5 1-hour whole group video meetings, 3 to 4 hours of scheduled small groups. And the asynchronous will be like 4 hours per week with independent projects. Summer programs are going to run starting July the 6th and through August the 14th. And our programs are broken down into essentially 3 models. So we have pre-apprenticeship models, which are 3-hour Google Meets, and then the small groups that I talked about, and the 4 hours of independent work. The apprenticeships, which will be 4-hour Google Meets, 3 hours of small group, 4 hours independent projects, and then advanced apprenticeships, which same model, 5-hour Google Meets, 4 hours of small group, 4 hours of independent work, and then internships. That's slightly different because it's hourly and they'll work with a supervisor. So the model is not exactly the same, but it's a little bit more of independent work. And there's a little bit more detail, but I'm sure people will ask questions. So I'll leave that for a little bit later. With that being said, the teen group that we primarily service is 14 to 18, and they have to be a Chicago resident. If teens are not enrolled in high school, but they're 18 years old, then I would suggest they go to One Summer Chicago, because our teens have to be in school, 14 to 18. So if they've just graduated 8th grade, they still have to be enrolled in school in a CPS high school. And if they are 18, same thing.
Great. Well, thank you, Ms. Henderson. I'm sure there will be questions that come back to you, and I'm glad you have your assistant there with you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have heard everything that you had to say.
Yeah.
Thank God for mother's assistance. So, but thank you, and we will hear a bit more from you later. Next up, we have, to break things up with all these women on the show, bringing knowledge and a lot of resources from the Chicago Park District. We have Mr. Art Richardson, who is the Central Regional Director. So, Mr. Richardson, good evening.
Good evening. Well. COVID-19 has been a very stern shot in the gut for a lot of us, for all of us, and it holds true for the Chicago Park District as well. So, and again, we've been the leading provider of summer programming opportunities, one of the major providers of summer employment opportunities for teens and young adults for years. But with COVID-19, we've had to sort of pivot a little bit and sort of sit in the bullpen and see where we can get in with new partners and new opportunities because of some of the things that have been knocked out of our square, off our square and our space, based on what we've traditionally done. So as far as day camp is concerned, we are going to be offering day camp at 148 parks across the city of Chicago. I think there's like 12 parks that fall within the 3rd or the 4th ward that will be having a day camp for 6 to 12-year-olds. And those particular locations, the day camp is going to look a lot different than it's looked in the past, because we're following the City Department of Health's lead, the CDC, as it relates to making sure that we're being safe and creating safe spaces, not only for our patrons, but for our staff. So some of the things that are going to look different this year is normally we hire somewhere around just under 800 or so seasonal employees to sort of increase the capacity for the programs that we have. We weren't able to do that this year. So we're going to be offering an in-person day camp with just our year-round staff. But more importantly, as we calculate the number of people, in this case, children, 6 to 12-year-olds that can come into the space, they have to maintain a 9-to-1 ratio, practicing social distancing. So what that means is, in years past, we've probably offered day camp opportunities for somewhere around 23,000 kids across the city of Chicago. Right now, in our current in-person plan, we're probably looking at offering day camp opportunities for about 4,000. So that's just an in-person day camp, which is practicing social distancing. And the way we came up with those numbers is, if you had a park facility that had 3 programmable spaces that were big enough to allow kids to practice social distancing and still have a nice, pleasant day camp experience, we just multiplied those 3 spaces by the 9 kids who can be, and that's the new target for that particular park. So we're offering day camp in person. We're also offering virtual day camp programs. We've been offering virtual programs sort of leading up to our new normal for the past month or so. And for individuals who are interested in seeing what that looks like, we have them currently being promoted on our website, www.chicagoparkdistrict.com. And, feel free, we've got a few more weeks to go for these particular classes before we go full-fledged into our summer plan. Now, as far as the summer employment opportunities, we were hit pretty hard with a lot of the things that we had to cancel, revenue streams, to make sure that we were able to bring youngsters in, give them the same experiences that they've had in the past. But even though things are not the same, we're still looking to work with partners. We've got some irons in the fire, and everything has been changing on a day-to-day basis. So some of the things that we had thought we could finalize last week, about working with some of the experts and the scientists about what actually can be done, things are being tweaked and things are being changed. So I encourage everyone to sort of stay tuned by checking the Park District's website to see what the latest and the greatest is. And I'm assuring you that it's probably going to change a little bit from what we're sharing today over the next couple of weeks. But I'll be on the phone to answer any specific questions about camp programming and summer opportunities at parks that anybody might have.
Thank you, Art. We want you to know that we appreciate the Park District. The Park District continues to be an important partner in our communities, and thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us this evening. We're going to move on with Center for New Horizons, which is one of the oldest serving community-based organizations in the Bronzeville community. They've been around since 1971. And with us today, we have the Executive Director, Krista Hamilton, and I'll turn it over to her. And Kiana Chappell, who is the Director of Family and Adult Services.
Thank you, Alderman Dow. Thank you, Alderman King, for having us today. So as you mentioned, Center for New Horizons, we are almost 50 years old, and we love this time of the year. This is when we are able to connect with over 500 youth on employment opportunities. Like everyone else mentioned, this year will be a little different. We'll have some virtual experiences, but we'll also have some in-person experiences. I'll let Kiana kind of go into the details of our opportunities. But a couple of things I want to highlight before she gets started is we take a very holistic approach to summer employment. Specifically, that means we're not only just worried about jobs and connecting individuals to jobs, but we're infusing social emotional learning practices into the programming, infuse restorative justice models, and also health and wellness exercises. So those are things we've typically done in person, but we are going to take all of that virtual, and participants will still get that experience in a remote fashion this summer. And then also, we have a quite robust workforce development system. So after individuals that are out of school or looking for opportunities beyond the summertime, we've been very effective in connecting them to after-school jobs, vocational and secondary education opportunities, and also permanent employment. So that's one of the things that we really target. We want to ensure that every youth after the summer is over, they have something productive to do. So if they're not going back to high school, then we're connecting them to whatever the next step in their process. And then they can be transitioned to some of our other programs. So I'll turn it over to Kiana, and she'll go through the specifics for our Youth for Summer programs.
All right, thank you. So good evening, everyone. So my name is Kiana Chappell. I'm the Director of Adult and Family Services with Centers. So like Ms. Hamilton mentioned, for the past 10 years, we've been putting close to 500 youth to work. And this year, we are excited to still be able to offer our programmings in a virtual or project-based environment. So this summer, we will be offering 3 different programs. So Chicago Ability is for youth ages 14 through 15. And this is a stipend-based program. So the youth will have an opportunity to earn $75 a week participating in some of our virtual workshops, but also working on a culminating project that they will present at the end of the summer program. We also have One Summer Chicago Plus, and that's for youth ages 16 through 21. And that program will also be offered using the same model. So our goal is to assess the wants and the needs of the youth, but also their interests. And our programming we will place them in the programming that matches their interests. So right now we're in the process of surveying the youth, finding out what are some of their career interests and matching them up with some of the programming that fits with that that particular interest. And then lastly, we have our CHA SYP program, and that's for youth ages 16 through 24. So that's also a virtual and project-based program. So each day of the week for that program, youth will have an opportunity to focus on a different theme. So if Mondays is Money Making Mondays, then we'll focus a lot around financial literacy, earning power. We'll also do some like Ms. Hamilton talked about, social emotional. So we're really using this time that we're in right now to allow the youth to share their voice. So we will be doing some activities that will allow them to talk about, how they're feeling right now and ways that they can get involved in civil engagement in their communities. So we service the city of Chicago. So we have sites throughout the city that will provide these opportunities for youth, and they all can be found on onesummerchicago.org. That's it for us.
We can't hear you, Alderman.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Ms. Chappell. Before we go on to the city of Chicago, I wanted to ask you, Krista, and I don't know if you have any capacity in your READY program, but if you could talk a minute or two about that program.
Absolutely. So we run a program called Ready Chicago. It is for high-risk individuals, specifically males, ages 18 to about 30 years old. We will be recruiting starting in July for the Ready Chicago program. It is a 12-month program for high-risk individuals who want to make some positive changes. So if they qualify based on our risk assessment, they will enroll into the program for the 12-month period. They will receive cognitive-based therapy, which they get every day for 2 hours. They'll receive professional development, which is workforce development, transitional jobs. The transitional jobs is also 5 days a week, and they receive wages. So individuals are paid a stipend, and they're also paid wages to be a part of the program. It has been phenomenal for many of the individuals that went through it. We typically work with individuals that have had at least 8 arrests, and most of the time 2 or 3 felonies. So these participants, I'm sorry, my dog is jumping on me. I apologize. These individuals are able to come in, we meet them where they are, and it's rapid attachment to employment. So as soon as they sign up with us, we're able to get them started. And we also are very similar to other programs. We created a plan for them. So there is a plan for them to, receive whatever type of social services that they may need. And then also to transition into full-time employment. They may go back to school, get a GED or some type of vocational or hard skill training. So the program is fully funded for them over the 12-month period. And they receive just a whole collection of resources So they have outreach teams, they have case managers, and also have the workforce development component of the program. So if you have anyone that you feel like fits that profile as a high-risk individual, feel free to reach out to Kiana or I'll put my information in the chat, and I'm open to emails, and we can start the referral process. And if they don't qualify for Ready Chicago because they are not at the highest risk, but they are still high risk, then we're more than open to transitioning them into another type of program. So the really interesting thing about centers is we have 5 different transitional jobs programs. So we really can meet people where they are and match them to what they need to become employed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krista. Now we'll move on to the City of Chicago's One Summer Chicago program. And with us today, we have Deputy Commissioner of Youth Services, Angela Rudolph. Ms. Rudolph?
Thank you so much, Alderman Dow, and thank you, Alderman King, for inviting me to be here today. I was actually really excited because I like to think that I live in both the 3rd and the 4th Ward, because I literally live at the border. If you cross the street, you are in the 3rd Ward. And so I was excited to see that both of you all would be doing this in collaboration today to talk about One Summer Chicago, which, you know, for both my team and others who are doing this work, we have taken upon ourselves to kind of dub this work as #SaveSummer. We recognize that COVID-19 has had an intense and deep effect on the young people on the south and west sides of the city. And so we really understood the importance to make sure that One Summer Chicago, which I just texted my staffer who's also on the call, is one of the oldest kind of summer youth employment programs in the city. It's been around since 2010. And there was, you know, a lot of questions that we've gotten from young people and others as to whether or not it's going to occur because, for example, New York City canceled their summer youth employment program for this summer. And historically or typically, Chicago would be the 2nd largest in the nation. With New York canceling their program, what we're trying to achieve or accomplish this summer would make us the largest summer employment program in the country. And so right now, what we are really encouraging people to do is to really have young people fill out the application for One Summer Chicago. Just to give you a little background, One Summer is typically a 6-week program that occurs with young people via 3 different models, ages 14 to 24. 14 to 15-year-olds, I believe, as the Centers for New Horizon folks indicated, is a kind of exposure to work program, Chicago Ability. Young people are paid via a stipend model, and it's really about getting them used to the concepts and the experience of having some sort of work activity before we transition them to the more traditional SYEP, or your kind of general One Summer Chicago program, and One Summer Chicago Plus, which is targeted traditionally to young people who are what we characterize as either opportunity youth, out of work, out of school, young people who could potentially be at highest risk of violence, or just a young person that presents with a complex need. Those 2 programs, we're happy to announce for the first time in many years, are going to get an increase in wages for One Summer Chicago of $14 an hour. Typically, One Summer Chicago SYEP and One Summer Plus is going to be this summer a minimum of 15 hours per week. When young people go to the onesummerchicago.org website, they fill out the application. You can choose from a variety of options and opportunities depending on what your interests are or what previous community-based organization you would have worked with. And depending on what program you choose will determine whether or not you will just work 15 hours a week or upwards to 20 hours a week. As many of my colleagues on the phone have indicated, this is a summer unlike any other summer. And so one thing that you are going to experience as a young person this year is that One Summer Chicago is for the most part going to be virtual. In order for us to have the kind of utmost care with young people, we made a decision that if there were no ability for young people to participate through a virtual program, that we would find project-based work that young people would do virtually. We've been partnering with the Chicago Public Schools, so the technology that were deployed to young people in CPS would continue to stay with them via the summer to help support One Summer Chicago young people to participate in this endeavor. And for those young folks who are not CPS students and have a gap in technology, we are also going the extra mile to figure out how we can connect those young people to technology as well. One of the final things I want to stress here is that we really need people to apply. We've extended the deadline because we recognize it's been difficult getting word out to young people that One Summer is happening. It is definitely happening. And so what I'm really asking for folks within the sound of my voice is to reach out to young people you know who are looking for some employment, and to please fill out the application by June the 12th. We're going to continue to take applications after that date on a rolling basis, but you have a higher chance of placement if your application is submitted online by June the 12th. The program itself is going to launch on July the 6th and end by August the 14th. And so, you know, I have on the slide in front of us, you can see the OSC team can be reached at 312-743-0208 if you have questions or you run into problems after you're filling out the application. And you can also email that same team at onesummerchicago@cityofchicago.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. We, if you'll hold right there, because the first question I think you may be able to answer. But right now we're going to transition into the questions. We've got some coming in from Facebook Live. We've got some that were answered in the chat, but we'll probably repeat them just for folks who are watching live who may not be part of the chat room. And so the first question is, are work permits available this year, and where can you get them?
So for One Summer Chicago, a work permit isn't necessary. For 14 to 15-year-olds, you would be going through the Chicago Ability Program, and that's a stipend, not a wage. And so therefore it's not needed with us.
Great. There were some questions answered in the chat. I'm just going to go over a couple of them here. But one thought, and maybe either you or Mr. Richardson or someone can weigh in. I know, you know, that there'll be some apprehension about working given COVID and things of that nature. Can you guys speak a little bit to some of the safety precautions?
Sure.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead. All right.
No, you go ahead.
So I can just say, for One Summer Chicago, our program at this moment is going to be virtual. And this is actually one of the reasons why we made that decision early on, because we recognized as we were trying to figure out, prophesize of sorts, what was going to happen, we knew we couldn't. Things were always changing, and in terms of trying to get a program like One Summer up and running, you need to make or forecast what you're going to do. And so with the utmost of caution, we determined that all activities would be virtual or online, and then only potentially at the earliest, the final 2 weeks of One Summer, we would kind of have a discussion with the folks over at CDPH to determine whether or not anything could happen in person, and go from there. But at this point, we are telling all of our partners to make plans to do One Summer Chicago for the entirety of 6 weeks online.
Great.
Our process is a little bit more fluid as it relates to working. We're still trying to figure out a way or a plan where we may be able to draw a lot of the kids who are planning on returning to come back to the park. But for those employees and patrons that are coming into the parks, we're obviously putting our full effort and to social distancing and wearing masks. All employees and patrons that come into the parks must wear masks. We've given all of our employees PPEs, and we've even gone as far as manufacturing our own hand sanitizer when we couldn't find it. So we're taking it extremely seriously. Part of the reason that we came back when we did was to give our staff an opportunity to feel comfortable coming back into the buildings and make sure we do a thorough cleaning throughout. And this is something that we're going to continue to practice for the duration of the summer until we move into the next phase to bring more people in and do more things that we weren't allowed to do in this particular part of the process.
Great.
Can I add, Alderman King?
Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Madison.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to add that there also has been quite recently a committee that's co-chaired by one of the Park District staff, Tim O'Connell, to develop guidelines for summer camps and summer programs. And those guidelines will be published just as the city, worked with a number of different sectors like restaurants, et cetera, to develop guidelines that would help keep everybody safe. There will be guidelines published pretty soon around summer camps and summer programs so that anybody could look online and see what they should expect to experience when they show up to a summer program.
Great, thank you. There's some more questions, but Chairman Dowell, I think you have a question.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Angela if the city still planned to fill all 30,000 slots for summer jobs this year. And I wanted to ask Deputy Mayor Madison if she would speak to the mayor's youth task force.
Sure. So right now we are in the midst of determining what the final One Summer Chicago number is going to be. We are expecting demand to be high, quite frankly. I know I can speak definitely for DFSS that we are still prepared to work with the number that we had identified going into it, but we're still in the midst as a partnership figuring out what our ability to serve is going to be.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a couple questions that have come up in the chat. One is, do you have to be enrolled in CPS, or is a private school an option as well? If you're at a private school, are these programs options? Specifically, After School Matters.
So for After School Matters, you don't have to be a CPS student. You do have to be a Chicago resident.
Great. How about park programs or some of the other programs? Is it just Chicago resident, or do you have to be
Chicago? This year, since we had to reduce the number of slots so drastically, we are requiring that in order to be to take advantage of the slots for summer camp, you have to be a Chicago resident. Yes.
At Centers, we actually have some. At Centers, we actually have some available slots for non-Chicago residents as well.
Great.
And then at One Summer Chicago, you're required to be a City of Chicago resident. And as long as you're 14 to 24, we don't care what school you go to.
Great.
I also wanted,
sorry.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
I also wanted to address for ASM, we also are providing teens with devices that they indicate that they have a need. So we're also a stipend-based program, and the stipend, tablets that we're offering are going to come out of the teens' stipend that they receive. So if they do have a device, then they'll get to keep, their full stipend. But if not, there's a nominal cost, and that cost is $50 for the actual device.
That was actually, I was going to chime in and say, we have some in-person jobs available just because everybody won't have access to devices for the summer, and we have so many slots. So we will be having some in-person programs, and just like art, we'll be practicing all of the safety precautions that we'll be doing for our employees.
Great. One other question, and the answer would probably be more of a statement, but it says, may I please get a copy of this recorded meeting? My organization would love to have these resources. So anybody who has registered will automatically get a copy of the materials and the PDF that's there. It's also, you'll be able to access this live on Facebook Live. I know it's on my Facebook Live. What is that? Prentice, what's my Facebook? King at, are you there?
It's King Fourth Ward, Facebook.
Yes, King Fourth
King
Ward,
Fourth Ward.
Facebook. And you could email either Alderman Dowell's office, or excuse me, Chairman Dowell's office, or my office. It's either ward03@cityofchicago.org or ward04@cityofchicago.org. So yeah, you'll be able to get this information. There was a question about After School Matters extended its application deadline to the 15th. Is the One Summer Chicago deadline still the 12th? Or has it been extended as well?
So the One Summer Chicago program's deadline actually is a rolling deadline.
Okay.
We're encouraging people to apply by the 12th. It's still going to be open, beyond that point. But we really want to encourage people to apply by the 12th to ensure that opportunities can be, young people can be matched to opportunities.
Right.
I also, I wanted to piggyback off of what Angela said. So ASM's deadline is June 15th. It's a hard deadline in the sense that because we're remote, we're supplying teams with not just devices, but with individual supply kits to supplement the virtual learning. So in order for us to get that process going, we have to know which teams are enrolled in what programs and where the supplies are going. So it's not that teams won't be able to apply after June 15th, but it might be really hard to ensure that they're going to have the supplies they need fully for the virtual experience in time for the start of programs.
Right.
I see a question here, Alderman King, for Angela, which is if a teen has already submitted their application for the One Summer Chicago program, when will the department start to contact applicants?
So that's actually happening right now. Youth matching and organization matching is literally happening as we speak, where organizations are going into the list and pulling out and contacting young people to get all of their employment information and to onboard them.
And if there's a company that wants to be a partner with you by offering employment opportunities or for youth, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can either reach out to me at angela.rudolph, RUDOLPH, at cityofchicago.org, or the number that I shared previously, 312-743-0208, or One Summer Chicago at cityofchicago.org. Either one of those three things would be a way that we can connect and get people onboarded and connected to young people.
Okay, that was nice. We had a Bronzeville company interested in providing an opportunity.
Oh,
Great.
Thank you.
That's excellent. Another question, for the programs, are there fees with that?
There are no fees for our programs at centers.
Okay.
Sorry, had a hard time unmuting myself. The park district, there are fees for the in-person camp. Our virtual camps will be free, and there are going to be a number of sort of drop-in opportunities at parks that we're not able to offer programs in. The school, we have some school parks and we have some smaller D facilities. But with the paid programs, we're still offering financial assistance and hardship opportunity. A parent can't afford to send a kid to camp is not an excuse for those kids not to go to camp. So just ask the park staff about financial assistance or hardship opportunities if the fee is too much.
Great. Are there any opportunities for kids under the age of 12?
For the park district, yes. Our in-person ages are 6 to 12 for a day camp. Normally, we do a play camp and we do a teen camp, but this year, because things have been so restricted and tightened up, we decided to just offer the 6 to 12-year-old in-person camps. But they're going to be virtual programming opportunities for play campers who are 3 to 5-year-olds, as well as engagement opportunities for teens to do some STEM-based learning programs for the summer virtually.
And Alderman King, I would just add that Chicago Public Library will begin their programs July 6th. They don't tend to have multi-week programs, but sometimes they have drop-in programs as well as multi-day programs, and those serve youth under 12 years old too.
Great. That's great. Can you guys give some examples of some of the offerings that we'll have in each of your programs for some of the young folks who may be watching or their parents? What type of unique opportunities might you be offering in this very unique time?
Well, at the Park District, we won't be doing field trips, and the swimming may be interrupted, but giving the kids an opportunity to come together. They've been sort of cooped up for the past 3 months. So we're excited about some of the things that we normally do, arts and crafts, wellness-based programs, getting out of the building, sort of discovering the parks. We're looking forward to making sure that kids stay engaged and just learning about just, the importance of being outside. Even though they can't go on a field trip, we're looking at ways to create virtual field trips. So we're trying to make it as normal as possible. And we're pretty certain that if kids come to our in-person camp, they're gonna have a good time. Just like they do traditionally, they're gonna have a ball.
Like we mentioned, like we mentioned earlier, we'll be doing some virtual things as well, but it'll be more than just employment related. So our kids will be working on like a capstone project. So they'll be broken up into different teams. They may be asset mapping the community or just doing something that they feel like is important, especially at a time like this. There's so much learning that can happen. So we're going to serve, we really appreciate the student voice. So we're going to be serving them when we get them all together, but there will be some projects that they'll be working on in teams that'll be led by some of the older youth. And then also we're still going to do our restorative justice work. So they'll be still learning peace circles, conflict resolution. We're still going to do that, and that'll be led by our staff. So they'll have some experiences outside of just regular job readiness training.
Excellent. Are any of the jobs, are there flexible hours? Are they, kind of 9 to 5? Can you give us an example of what our young people, what their days will look like for the work opportunities?
Even if they're virtual.
Sure. So, one summer Chicago will have some flexibility in that way. We have a wide variety of options and opportunities that we are still in the midst of working out some of the specifics, but we already have had conversation around the idea of virtual gives us a flexibility that we might not historically have in terms of what young people are able to do. And we are trying to figure out ways that young people, particularly if you have to do summer school, could work in the afternoons or on weekends. So yes, that would be an option, an opportunity if you participated in one summer this year.
And the same for centers. We're kind of going to work in cohort models. So that will offer the flexibility for some of those same things. If you have other obligations, then they may be placed in the afternoon cohort. And then some of our scheduled activities will be scheduled around those time frames as well.
Right. Thank you. Can you guys talk about the pay again? I know, if I'm a young person, I might have missed that. What are the pay ranges that our young people may have the opportunity to gain this summer?
So for centers, our Chicago Ability is $75 a week. And then our One Summer Chicago Plus and our CHA SYEP program, those are both $14 an hour, and they can earn up to 120 hours for the entire summer.
Right. And can you just give the age range for you as again, just so people can
Yes.
tie a dollar amount to the age?
Yes, so Chicago Ability is 14 and 15-year-olds, and that's the $75 a week stipend.
Okay.
And then One Summer Chicago Plus and the SYEP is for youth ages, well, One Summer Chicago Plus is for 16 through 18, and then SYEP is for 16 through 24.
Excellent. Thank you.
I have one
Hi.
question, was someone else going to answer that?
Nubia from After School Matters. And I was going to go back a little bit because I know Alderman King was asking about the types of programming that we offer. So we offer a wide variety of fine arts, STEM, sports programs, and all of them have an additional social emotional component. We build in the MHA skills, which is a SEL model developed by teens, but especially during this time, we are giving extra care, support, and attention to our instructors so they can carry that over to the teens in the program. So we have programming like advanced hair techniques, Project Sincere. They do robotics and coding. In my portfolio, there is, I'm going blank, I was trying to think of sports. In my portfolio, I don't have a lot of sports, but in my colleagues' portfolio, they do. So a lot of park programs, and actually Washington Park tennis, culinary programs. So it really runs the gamut of the type of programming that's offered. As far as stipends, I'm going to preface this to say our programs are averaging 15 slots. We do have some programs that have 30 teen slots, and the teens are required to interview. It's stipend-based, but it's like a job. So I'm prefacing this because for the different models that we have, the first being a pre-apprenticeship, that is $336. It's going to be issued out in 2 stipends. But again, if they are in need of a device, then there will be $50 that is going to be deducted from that. The second tier, the apprenticeship models, is $420. And then the advanced apprenticeships are $725. Internships this time are going to get a stipend of $850. But again, there's a limited number of slots. So I just want people to know, and there's an interview required. So if you see something and you're enticed by that price point, there is a level of work and commitment that the instructors are going to require for that to happen.
Great. Unless anybody else wants to weigh in on just stipends. Ms. Harper, did you want to weigh in? Okay, go ahead. And then I know Chairman Dow has a last question and she'll close us out.
Perfect. I know I had talked about our Greater Bronzeville Neighborhood Network, but I wanted to chime in and share that Bright Star Community Outreach is also doing a virtual summer camp where there will be scavenger hunts, virtual tours of museums, movie parties, science experiments, cooking classes. It's all at no cost. The times will vary, but the programming will start on June 22nd. So if anyone reaches out to me, I can connect them to the right person, but that resource is available later this month.
Right. Did you say the age group for that?
The age group, I believe it's school age, so I think it's kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
Well, scavenger hunt sounds like fun.
Yeah. A lot of these sound fun. Robotics, I want to do that.
Alderman, can I just say one more thing? I know, Alderman Dow, you're about to close out.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was going back and forth with Angela about sharing this, but something that we're really excited about that's going to be part of One Summer Chicago is a youth service corps. So really engaging young people in responding to COVID and also everything else that our communities need at this time. Angela and the team there had this wonderful idea that youth want to be part of the solution, and how do we create an opportunity for them to use their voice and their talents to actually contribute and give back. And so we're really excited about that. It's part of the One Summer application. And we believe that this is going to be the first year of many years of having a youth service course. So it's a new aspect of One Summer that we plan to continue into the future. So just didn't want to steal her thunder and then realized that she was waiting for me to mention it. So.
All right, sounds good. Just a final question before we wrap up. Do any of your programs have any kind of financial literacy support attached to this? I mean, these young people are earning money. They have to start thinking about that too.
Yeah, so actually we do. The One Summer Chicago program has what we characterize as a playlist targeted to help young people to build up their understanding and skills around financial literacy. And we actually also have a really hard push to encourage young people to set up checking accounts so they can get direct deposit as well.
Great.
Excellent.
So first, I want to thank you guys for all showing up and sharing with our audience tonight. Again, Alderman King, kudos to you for pulling this all together. We really appreciate your leadership. And as we are in the middle of COVID, we're trying to make our community and our summer as normal as we can for our young people. And I think this evening you've heard many options for fun and options for earning some money, and that's always a good thing. So I want to turn it over to my colleague, Alderman King, to give us the final good night.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Again, as always, love partnering with you on these opportunities. And these are some great opportunities for our youth. You know, I know that our families, our communities are going through a lot. And so to still provide engagement opportunities for our young folks is saying a lot. So I appreciate you. You know, Deputy Mayor, I know you've been involved in a lot of this. So thank you for joining us. We also had from Bright Star Community Outreach, Miss Vivian Harper, from My Shine, My Future. I already said Deputy Mayor Sybil Madison from After School Matters, Miss Nubia Henderson from the Chicago Park District, Mr. Art Richardson, thanks for hanging with us, Mr. Richardson, Centers for New Horizon, Kiana Chappell. We also had Krista Hamilton, thank you. One Summer, Miss Angela Rudolph, Deputy Commissioner, thank you all for joining us and for letting our youth know that we haven't forgotten about them, that we appreciate their leadership over the last couple of days, that the future is in their hands, and we want to make sure that they continue to be engaged and employed. So thank you all for joining us and for providing these opportunities for our young folks. Again, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Remember, you guys can get all this information Facebook Live or email us at our ward site, ward03@cityofchicago.org, ward04@cityofchicago.org. You can also revisit these on Facebook as well. If you signed up as a participant, we'll email you the information that was here today. So good evening, everybody. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye.